and very often offers a solution to situations in which we as women simply feel overwhelmed. We are too much into our masculine energy, we are struggling, we get to a point in which we are just giving and we cannot give anymore and we cannot struggle anymore. And then there are also specific situations in our life and specific people, for example, who are kind of pushing us into this masculine energy or into this state of struggle, state of constantly fighting, controlling, or having to control specific situations because you have no other choice. And in these situations in life that for sure happen to all of us, the concept of surrendering is a very, very important one that can really save you, really give you back your peace, bring you back into the state of feminine energy, and very good for your mental health. And that's why I found it's important to make this video, because you can later on transfer the concept of surrendering, or this ability of surrendering, because it is an ability, into other areas of your life. But first, let me explain to you what surrendering actually is in feminine energy. In a society that tends to emphasize masculine ways of acting, also masculine qualities of doing, achieving and controlling, surrendering provides a counterbalance by emphasizing being, receiving and trusting. So at its core, surrendering is a conscious choice to let go of the need to control or micromanage every aspect of your life and relationships. It involves releasing the grip on outcomes and also trusting the natural rhythm of life, trusting the process in a way. So by surrendering, women open up themselves to a wealth of benefits for their female psyche and for the nervous system, basically. So now you see that surrendering has nothing to do with weakness. Rather, it is a courageous act, actually, because it is a decision that you have to make and in which you decide to release control, which is one of the most difficult tasks and difficult things for many of us women in these times. Now, let me tell you what the benefits of surrendering are before I give you the very practical examples and techniques on how you can actually do that in your life. The first benefit of surrendering is inner peace. And I think this is a wonderful and very, very valuable benefit. Surrendering allows a woman to find her inner peace within herself by relinquishing the constant need for control. It's an acknowledgement that not everything has to be figured out or controlled. And even though in many of us, of our lives or situations, we have to manage, we have to be in control, let me tell you that it is extremely soothing for your feminine being to let go of that, at least sometimes. Benefit number 2, enhanced intuition. Embracing surrender nurtures a deeper connection to your intuition. By quieting the mind and listening to your inner voice, a woman gains access to her profound insights. And number 3, which is another very, very important benefit, and that's emotional liberation. Surrendering also liberates a woman from carrying all emotional responsibilities. It fosters an environment where vulnerability is allowed. And it also leads to more authentic and fulfilling relationships. And we will come to that a little bit later. So let's now dive into the practical tips on how to surrender. I will start with 3 examples of surrendering in daily life. The first example and technique is mindful breathing. I can recommend you to incorporate moments of mindful breathing throughout the day. This simple practice really helps you to be in the present moment, and it can ease this grip of thoughts, of oftentimes anxious thoughts. There is one breathing technique that I find especially good for emotional liberation, and that's the belly breathing. And I have learned it from my Chinese TCM practitioner or doctor. And I already talked about this breathing technique in another video. I also made a short video about that, and I will link that down below so that you can watch it afterwards, because it is quite easy, but it will really open and release your heart. It works on a physical level and also on a mental level. That's really something that you will notice. If you don't like breathing or you have problems with that, instead of breathing, you could also engage in another activity that makes you enter a place of actionless activity and alertness. So something like meditation, for example. Technique number 2, journaling. Practicing journaling is a form of self-reflection. Try to write when you feel overwhelmed emotionally or mentally. Try to write it down. Just get a notebook or even a piece of paper and write your emotions down. Try to write them from a rather objective perspective. So simply describe how you are feeling, and then try to describe where exactly you are feeling it in your body. So for example, when you are angry, you can simply write, right now I am feeling very angry, and then you dive into your body and you look for this emotion and how it manifests within your body physically. So that could be, for example, my stomach is feeling very tense and my solar plexus area is kind of cramping. It feels very uncomfortable. My throat feels sore and tight. And then you go up your body and you feel into it, and then maybe you might notice that your shoulders are tense, that your eyebrows are tense. So these kind of things, and you write them down. After a time when you went through this, most of the time this emotion will release, because you will also release the physical aspects of the emotion. And this is also a form of practicing surrendering. And technique number 3 would be dance or movement. This is something that for many people is very helpful to surrender, especially to let go of thoughts that are really torturing you, that are in your head, but also emotions. Because through movement we can also surrender and release. And dance is a very feminine way of moving. It also engages your brain, so you have to think how you are moving. Sometimes, depending on the dance, you are following instructions or you are following specific techniques or a choreography, and this really helps to let go of everything else and simply surrender to this movement. And if you don't like dancing or you cannot dance, you can simply do some other kind of exercise. Because exercising will also put you into your body. It will be more about concentration. So you might be concentrated on a specific movement, on doing it correctly, or listening to music. And this will also help you to surrender in that moment. So the more you do those things, the easier it will be for you to surrender. It is a very good technique too. And if you liked these techniques so far, I will now dive into the techniques that you can implement in your relationships. But before that, I would be super happy if you give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It is also important to press the notification bell if you don't want to miss any of my upcoming videos. Welcome, and I will continue now with the tips for relationships. Surrendering in relationships is another kind of thing, and I have already hinted to the fact that there might be situations in your life or persons that push you into a state in which you don't want to be. And sometimes it is not easy to let go of those people, or sometimes you simply cannot. So you have to find a way to still have your inner peace and to still protect your feminine energy. And with the following 3 techniques you can try to do that. And they have to do with surrendering and mostly with letting go of specific things. This might help you to get into your feminine energy, even though it is almost impossible in specific situations. So technique number 1, dropping your own reaction. So what we all have that, is that we react in a specific way to specific people or to specific acts. And this is oftentimes a reaction that we do over and over, because we are already programmed to react that way. It doesn't have to be in romantic relations, it can also be with specific friends, with specific colleagues, or other people that you are dealing with or that you have to deal with. So what you can practice is dropping your own reaction and just try it and see what happens. So you can view it as an experiment. What would happen if you let go of your default response? What will you lose or what will you gain? This can also mean to observe your defenses and also try to notice how defensive you are and how defensive you have become when your position is attacked. And this is very hard to do because, as I said, we are already programmed and used to reacting in a specific way to specific situations. But if you think of this one technique, next time you are in such a situation, simply try to take a step back. Technique number 2, letting go of expectations and committing to radical acceptance. This is also a little bit advanced, but what I mean here is release rigid expectations about how things should unfold and try to fully embrace what is. Embrace it either as a gift or as a lesson or an opportunity to learn new things, new ways of responding, for example. I'm sure that you might have trouble with this. I have. So the only way of achieving this is put yourself in the role of an actor, of an actress in that moment, and simply fake it till you make it. Sometimes it's the only way to break this circle in which we already are. And technique number 3, accepting uncertainty. Understand that not everything in a relationship can be predicted or controlled. Surrendering also means and involves accepting the uncertainty that comes. And this is something that's also very hard for me, for example. Depends on how you are, if you require a lot of certainty or not. It is not easy. And practicing it will also help you to stress a little bit less. So in essence, surrendering in feminine energy is a very transformative journey. And it has to do with self-development, of course. Self-discovery, inner strength. But if you practice that, you can really tap into a power by letting go of controlling other situations and people. You will have more control of yourself, of your emotions. And that's very important for your mental well-being. With regard to that, to the overall concept of surrendering, I would like to read you a little quote from Elizabeth Gilbert. That's the author of Eat, Pray, Love. I don't know if you have seen the movie with Julia Roberts. I've seen it and I really liked it. She also has written a lot of books. She said about surrendering, and this quote really touched me because it is really true. Surrender is what happens when you come to the end of your power. Surrender is what happens when you have searched to the bottom of your soul and found out this truth, which is that you really can't do this thing anymore. Surrender is what happens when you don't have any more ideas for how to fix everything. Surrender is what happens when none of your survival strategies work anymore and your playbook is out of pages. Surrender is what happens when you turn it all over to God. You release your grip on the thing. You stop white-knucking it. You stop pretending things are great when things are actually horrible. You stop putting on a fake face or glossing over the problem or lying. You face the truth that you are not the most powerful force in the universe. You turn it over to fate. You exhale and let go.